Welcome back to the demo one. Um, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Sam Sukla, a graduate having a Bachelor's of Technology degree with a major in computer science and engineering. Recently, I have been hired as a Java developer intern, at, uh, and I have been working from the remote location as of now. So I have got instructions from my mentor and the project lead to summarize all the learnings I have gained in a week. And so the goal is to create a presentation along with the summary of the knowledge I get, uh, at least one or two presentations in a week. So this one is going to be for this purpose as well. And let's start with uh, what is uh, all the things that I have gained. So, what I would like to tell you all is the learnings I have gained in the entire first week of my uh, Java developer intro. So, here is the summary of all this, and we would deep dive into each of the particular summary, what we have gained through this one and all this. So, the first thing first, we interns got to know the entire workflow goes through the IT domain and as the in particular subdomain of software development. We got to know uh, the hierarchy level positions, roles, and responsibilities, how the software things goes, uh, tester, developer team, the some other like any terms and concepts like the Scrum Master and some exactly overview how uh, the under the hood process, how exactly a product is developed from the scratch and the entire process of the team. The second one we got to know uh, is that uh, since we are hired as a Java developer and are required to work with on the projects having the Java related frameworks and other related technologies. So in the first week, we also introduced with the Spring Boot and Spring, since we are have the skills already, we got the overview and the a kind of revision that we along with some other tools like logging and so many other things, uh, cloud deployment and overview of entire. We are also familiar with the softwares like Git and uh, cloud providers like GitHub and Bitbucket, who allows us to store our Git repository on the cloud, uh, and we can access to many other things that these services are provided by these uh, organizations like GitHub and Bitbucket. Along with that, we also got to know about the multiple uh, microservices like SOAP, UI, or the REST API, the SOA or SOA technology, the also known as the service-oriented architecture, and these are all these overviews we got, and it was an informative session. In the first week of our internship, we developed a Spring Boot project uh, with CRUD Operation. We write test cases for it. We deployed on AWS uh, service, specifically a service named as EC machine, or also that stands for elastic computing, and we deployed our Spring Boot project there. Obviously, it is deployed in the form of chart, and we can configure the uh, kind of OS or the infrastructure we require. Basically, we uh, got to know about the various uh, project management tools. Obviously, Jira is famous one of them, and along with that, we also introduced with the agile methodology and the Scrum specifically, since as a developer we are going to in the production, not production, but in a uh, in development phase, we are more going to use the Scrum methodology and principles. Although we all are equipped with these skills, however, it was a great revision during this session, and we enjoyed. We also got to know some other as well, some other skills, like we kind of aware of these technologies, but uh, we did not got opportunity to im- im- uh, implement these things. Like we got the opportunity to work with different logging frameworks, like Log4j, the default logger provided by the Spring Boot, that is Logback. Uh, we also work with the SLF4Z logging framework, that we will also continue with this particular framework in our further projects as well. We developed the unit testing and the using the JUnit testing framework. Also, we use the Mockito for mocking. All these things we utilized in our first uh, project. Although it was, we utilized many of these tools, and we integrated all these things and for our knowledge set and learning. However, we also consider it as a very beginner kind of project. So, very firstly, I would like to talk about, uh, as we know, the Spring Boot is consists of various, uh, a variety, a number of annotations that does our work so smoothly. And well, Spring Boot is the framework that is built on top of a Spring framework, and it has totally changed the working with development of an application, whether it is web application or desktop application or any other kind of enterprise application. Spring Boot provides us ready to reuse and kind of a structure with Maven project management, and we are ready to implement our business logic with minimal configuration. And for the basic operations, it often always provides a ready to go uh, structure. It's very efficient and highly scalable and maintainable as well. Spring Boot is a modular uh, framework and does inherit and does provide almost all of the facilities that Spring provided. Along with that, what Spring Boot uh, framework provides us is the we know uh, it provides various features, including such as we can uh, okay we can count it. So one is auto configuration. It is the greatest advantage of the Spring Boot. Just use the starters and other plugins or uh, extensions, and all these are these three are the greatest ones to features that simplifies the overhead of a developer. Auto configurations with defaults and the starters. We know the starters. Um, so basically, many of the features of the Spring is like uh, IOC or inversion of control that relates with that provides the functionality of dependency injection is uh, provided with the starter name as the Spring Boot starter web. So it is, and it also facilitates this same starter also facilitates uh, the Spring MVC. So with starters, we can use the relevant features and configurations for our project and not required to work with different other modules. We just use simple starters. So for writing, uh, for integration of testing like JUnit and Mosquito or some other, we can use the starter name and Spring Boot starter test. The same as with the Spring security, we can use the Spring Boot starter security. So this is the one of the major advantage. And because of these, we get the production ready uh, Maven project to work on and implement our business logic thanks to these all configurations. What next is the we also know as the even Spring. Uh, from the Spring, we get an embedded, not actually Spring. Yes, Spring actually, sorry for my confusion. Spring Core doesn't provide the embedded server. However, Spring Boot provides, and the default one is the Tomcat server provided by the Apache organization. And because of these embedded servers, Spring Boot projects are standalone. applications. That means that without using external server, we can use run our application on embedded server, that is Tomcat. There are some other servers as well. However, the Tomcat is default. So another great feature is standalone, and we can run and test or do many of the work on our built-in, not built-in, but embedded server. One of the other features that Spring Boot provides is a feature known as the actuator. And this actuator actually is helps us with uh, kind of in the management of the application. While in production, we can handle. We know that if a particular application is so big or that takes various uh, uh, a good time to restart, and if we require to do something in between the production application, then either we have to do something to restart it, and then if something needs to be redeployed or something goes wrong, we are required to restart the server. Actuator finally provides us the features that we can change many of the things without the need of restarting. And with the help of actuator, we can also get various uh, the kind of more access to manage our application on server, to handle the resources and many other like in production without uh, making any change in the code. With the help of actuator, we can get to know uh, or we can change the log generation types or kind of many other things. It's a great feature actually. Uh, we are familiar with various other things. Now we will move to the topic to discuss as the annotations. The what are annotations actually? We can see that uh, annotation is kind of feature that allows developers to add metadata to their application or to their code, and these annotations can be compiled or be interpreted, means either can be resolved at the compile time or can be treated as the runtime. Basically, this provides the metadata that provides some instructions to the JVM to perform either at the time of compile time or either at the time of uh, application execution. Even override like is one of the mostly used annotation we often use in core Java always. Suppressive warning is also, and some other like deprecated is also built-in Java annotations that we often use. Well, in Spring Boot, there are many annotations such as add the rate Spring Boot application and some others as well that we can discuss here, like @autowire or configuration, component scan, or bean component, or uh, very famous of these are Spring Boot application, the REST controller, service, uh, repository, component. So along with that, in the process of making the endpoints, we use the request mapping and the response body. All these, along with these annotations, response body and request mapping are not deprecated, but we can use more specified annotations like get mapping, post mapping, and put mapping, and some other patch mapping, tweet mapping, so many. And we know that, well, we have talked so much theoretical. I would like to make sure that all these things not going so boring. So for that, I would like to introduce this. The project that we are supposed to work on. And it is the overview, kind of. We cannot actually say this is the high level design, because high level design is not only consist of these visual connections, but so many other requirements like uh, component connection, the actual business requirements, and so many other. This basically is the visual of how our application is required to be communicated, and some uh, only a basic infrastructure that our application will consist of. So the project we are going to work is a three-tier architecture that basically front end, back end, and the database. And this project will be developed using the microservices architecture. We can go for the monolithic architecture, but as of now, it is preferred microservices. We can go into the debate of why microservices and not monolithic, but okay, it is an project consists of three-tier architecture that implements the microservices principles. Along with that, it will also utilizes the agile principles and methods in the development of this uh, project and throughout the life cycle, particularly for the development team. We will be utilizing the Scrum principles. Uh, Again, we can go into debate why Scrum and not Kanban, but as of now, we choose Scrum. It is important. And for the project management, we are going to utilize the Jira application, obviously the famous one it is. So kind of a very basic overview of the project that we just see. Now we are going to actually learn about how all these components uh, communicate communicate with each other. Um, since this particular project is going to be uh, probably a e-commerce project, uh, as much as we have discussed as of now. This is the one uh, architecture of the three tier architecture. This is the first, not first, but uh, anyone can be first. But this is one of the three tiers, and is the front end. This is why I have a kind of changed a bit of color. This is the front end. Uh, as a Java developer, exactly not too interested in front end development as of now, but we are going to see it. What I'm interested in as backend developer is the architecture of the backend and the database. So we are going to take a brief overview of our backend application and the database as well. The database and the the database tier is going to be a consist of uh, multiple databases. Um, as of now, the plan is to use uh, NoSQL database, most probably Postgre, and we can also utilize Postgre. We can also utilize the Postgre for the JSON or JSON object, actually a semi-structured uh, data, because like various other databases, all Postgres also extends its support for JSON, that is a semi-structured data. Uh, Not mandatory, we are required to go for the NoSQL, but we can use, uh, however, it is depending upon our various business needs and requirements. We will uh, make sure what is to be used. We are yet learning. Okay, now we are going to focus on backend application. And here, we know that but since we are implementing the microservices for each request or inbound, our application going to authorize and authenticate it, implement the business logic, goes through various other these uh, functionality and workings. If requires IO operation with database, work with it, generate the response, and send provide it as a response. This is the very common request and response formation for our application. Now, the thing that we are going to uh, work on is how to build this backend application along with this particular database tier as well. The main focus is this, the backend application. Already I have uh, developed this figure. So for the ease of understand the overview and the tools we are using here, we will soon discuss it. I will also share the tools and libraries or frameworks exactly we are going to implement or utilize in this particular project. Now here, that is that I'm not talking about on a while is this PayPal. As discussed, it is an e-commerce application. For that, we are required to implement a payment for service provider. For this purpose, we are going to use the PayPal payment service provider. And to use payment service provider, actually, I have to also not only this, since uh, PayPal infrastructure is designed in a way that uh, it requires to communicate with the client as well as our backend application in order to complete the transaction. We exactly, oh, my bad. Okay, so this is the uh, PayPal payment service provider, and we are going to use uh, for the testing period only. We're going to use uh, this thing, PayPal API sandbox that is provided by the PayPal to see the point of concept, sorry, proof of concept for the implementation of the this infrastructure, since it is um, it is connected with a backend application, but not a part of the backend application. So this is entirely different service, and we are just communicating with PayPal server with the help of endpoints provided by it. We are just in a moment, we are going to use that. So this one is what we're going to use to make sure I do the right thing. Yes, yes, this one. Could you please open it? Okay. So as I mentioned, uh, this the buyer. This is the API documentation overview, how the service is required to implemented in order to complete the transaction. It also this the buyer, the actual user who is interacting with the client or at their browser or application. categorized as the buyer here, also requires to communicate, directly communicate with the PayPal uh, standard, or means the server with the of the PayPal. Again, here there's request and response going on, and it is designed in a way that if request goes from directly from the buyer to the PayPal SDK, then it will send back the response not directly to the client, but with our page and then again. So this is uh, kind of complex as well, even though it seems easy. We are required to do a lot of work in order to provide security and so many things. Also, uh, as mentioned, security, we are required to implement the OAuth 2 uh, security level, since it is uh, advised by the PayPal, and it also uses the OAuth. Okay, so this is the overview, and what I'm talking about here is the sandbox. That particular is the uh, facility provided by the PayPal with dummy currency, so that there is no loss. We are particularly going to, as a for the point, a proof of concept only, we are going to utilize sandbox and in the development phase only. But in the production phase, we will definitely go with the standard its facility. Now, time to go to the PayPal sandbox. We can check out these tools, and here is the first is the sandbox testing guide. We will go to this particular page. Yes, I accept. This is the reason. Okay, yes. Not it is not. Okay. The PayPal sandbox testing guide is this is the documentation they have provided how to work with this. The first one we have to work is also uh, set up an account and then do or the integration of the PayPal. So the basic reason for this to show all this, because as as soon as we are going to work with the backend application and its infrastructure, this is going to be lost, because this is, it seems uh, simplified here, but we are going to uh, most of our energy and focus on backend application in initial phase. uh, when developed enough, then we can start working with the PayPal API integration with the backend as well as the front end. Okay, so we are going to create an account. Hmm. Here is one thing I just find interesting is we can have two types of account, personal and business. So the personal, a particular user will have, and a business account of merchant will have, or a business enterprise will have for the large amount of transaction and for handling that. So in a very few time we are going to create and then come back. So we have created the PayPal developer account, and this provide us access to the sandbox, this one here, in sandbox mode. And this allows us to mimic the live transaction uh, as it is happening in real. And it also provides us various tools. And we are, as of now, we are going to work with a standard checkout. So also, I would like to tell you all that if you're not in support of creating a developer account, you can uh, go to uh, this URL, that is developer.paypal.com API APIs. There you can find this URL, this code, and this will facilitate you without creating the PayPal account. You can work with the work in Postman and test the REST APIs. For your confirmation, it is also provided here. You can try your REST APIs and Postman without a PayPal developer account. So you can try it if you require this. Uh, we are going to work with the sandbox account and all this. Once we are done with our development of at least enough development of our backend application. Now we are uh, going to focus on our Java Spring Boot backend application solely. What we are going to do is to get the overview exactly what these components are, the some uh, knowledge sharing about it, and other things. And in this, we are also going to discuss why this particular thing or technology only. Why not some other versions, or why not exactly version, but uh, we can make uh, discussion whether we should use Maven or Gradle project manager, or why only Spring Boot, why not Spring, or why not Java Enterprise Edition framework, or why not we are only using the servlet and GSP and this technology. uh, we basically know these are uh, old or legacy things. Despite we are not directly going to implement these GSP and servlet kind of things, but we know under the hood Spring Boot, uh, since Spring Boot is built on top of Spring Framework, and Spring Framework implements all these, uh, utilize all these technologies. Like every component is under the hood, it converts into a servlet each, and when we work with uh, Spring Security, we are going to uh, use the servlets and get to know about the servlet if one doesn't know about it. So we are going to use the Spring Boot. We have already discussed its features and advantages that is provides. Uh, Many of other, and also uh, discussed in brief, the features uh, it provides us. Other than that, we are going to, in a very short time, I'm going to provide these. Uh, what exactly component is used and why. The first, uh, right after uh, inbound receives, means request receives to our server, we are going to implement the, since we are implementing this Spring security, and what if Spring security does is provide us the various filters, including user and password filters and many other things or features that will help us to make our application as secure as possible and uh, eliminate the external threats. For that, uh, in brief, I can tell you what filters is. So by default, security provides us uh, various various filters, and like one of these filters we can discuss here. So what we were talking about is here I opened a site to exactly visualize the concepts I'm talking about. So the security, what Spring security, what provides us, uh, and we, in very simple way, is the authorization and authentication. In terms of when we were using with servlets and JSP, if, for example, if we take 10 hours to build the uh, business logic for our application, we are going to take another 20 hours to build uh, a security system for our application because it was uh, not easy at all. However, uh, although it is a one-time setup, but it used to take a lot. Now, when we have so many other facilities in Spring Boot, and the starter is the Spring Boot starter security. It provides us too easy to work with, and it is a one-time setup. We can work with this. So it provides various filters, and these filters are used first for the authorization and the authentication. Many of the filters, as discussed, one of the filter is username. It is exactly known as the yes, the username password authentication filter, and this is many of the filters of provided in the security filter chain. Along with that, we have like basic authentication filter, many other. We have authorization filters, SRF. So the filter chain is consist of the filter chain is consist of uh, exactly a chain, and there are many other. These are the filters, and that are chained all together like these. By default, these chain filter is invoked all of many of these, But when we customize, we are required to know about what each particular filter does, and then customize each uh, filter and connect the dots, like which particular filter will be invoked after one another. And each request and response will be come through and pass through this security filter. So, and these filters have the capability to change the request and response data as well if we implement it. So this is one of the uh, the component of our application, that is security. After uh, once the request passes the security filters, uh, security layer, it we redirect it to the business layer, or if we have other uh, things to do before the business code business logic, we can do this. Like we can perform the logging. This particular user logged in at this particular timestamp. For that, we can use the logging, and there are multiple logging frameworks we can utilize. Uh, One of them, by default, Spring Boot provides the logback uh, logback logger, and it is provided by the Apache organization. Instead of that, we can utilize the log4j or SLF for J. These are other logging tools we can utilize. We will go for the SLF4 logging tool. Now, I would like to discuss with you all. We can uh, uh, a small talk. Why we are required to use the log4j or SLF4j? In this particular, we can also use the log4j and the SLF4j. Why not? And which one is better? Along with that, why I would prefer the SLF4j. Why? Because SLF4j is not actually a logging framework, but it is an abstraction layer that provides uh, a kind of documentation on yeah, or an API that are implemented by various uh, logging frameworks like Log4j. Log4j is one of the implementation uh, of the things provided by the SLF4j. So SLF4j is even when we implement the SLF4j, it will instruct another logging framework to do actually what is instructed. So basically, our application in if we are using the SLF4j, our application will interact with the SLF4j, and the SLF4j will interact inter, interact with the underlying logging uh, frame or logging uh, actually implementation, and either it can be logback logging framework, it can be uh, Log4j logging framework or some other. But the thing we got to know, the advantage it provides is we are if we directly implement the log4j, we our application is dependent on log4j like a framework. But if we use the SLF4j logging abstraction layer, we are not dependent on any particular uh, underlying logging framework. So it provides us more modular uh, code base. We can conclude that SLF4j is uh, there is actually no comparison between the SLF4j and log4j. The SLF4j is the abstract layer. Actually, it is an open source uh, library that we use. It provides us various advantages. We can discuss with in great time. Uh, However, I forgot to conclude. We can have to use the SLF4j and the log4j as well because uh, the SLF4j instruct log4j to do all these things underlying, but our application will not directly interact with the log4j logging framework. So we have discussed the security and the log. So as soon as inbound uh, passes the security, will come to the business logic layer. If anything else requires to be work, like we discussed logging, we are not actually okay. So all this, if our business logic layer will be implemented with the associated with the request. If requires IO operation with the database, it will be done. Based on that, response will be generated and the response will be sent back. That will go through the security filter. What these are the components we have discussed: logging, testing or testings, since testing is not the only uh, uh, and not a one-time task to perform. So we have different. Uh, we can go deeper into the testing as well. Basically, we have multiple functional testing, integration testing, or uh, we have unit testing, system testing, so many things. Basically, this is to test whether or not our application is working as expected with the failed test cases and the successful test cases as well. So to uh, maintain the application in a way that it always uh, in a particular state that nothing goes wrong, we are required to perform the testings for each development. Now here, profile management. What is profile management? Actually, profile management is the kind of uh, facility we have been provided by the Spring Boot. Is we can, instead of working on uh, different creating different infrastructures for the different scenarios, like instead of creating an infra different infrastructures for testing facility, for production facility, and integration testing, are all these facilities or development facilities. Well, we are required to do this, but to make the synchronization between these uh, different we instead of doing this all differently, we Spring Boot introduced the concept known as uh, profile management. So we can profile multiple managements. One, like for example, we can uh, use one profile for test, second for productions, third for integration, and fourth for development. And the basic advantage we have is we can uh, implement different uh, we can implement different configurations based on or different resources based on the profile. Since it is not same as the same kind of infrastructure and resources is not going to be used in development or test infrastructure, same as the production. So, or even like not the same database or the other resources we can utilize, same as the production that we are using in test and other development profiles. So we can, for conclusion, we can mention different configurations with different resources depending upon the profile being used. And we can invoke a particular profile at a particular event. And Spring Boot will manages those relevant configurations and resources depending on the profile management profile. Now, when we talk about the version control, obviously the famous one and the we often know that Git is the version control software that we are going to utilize, the most famous one and across the world. To host our repository on the web, we are going to utilize the GitHub or Gitbucket as required. Also, we are going for debugging. We have uh, we have inbuilt tools or any other. This is the basic work a developer or in the development phase software engineers have to go through. For messaging, the main task to utilize this section messaging is to provide the notification to the user, uh, whether in form of notifications or other form of messaging, such as for emails, we can use the SMTP or these. We have some other libraries, third-party libraries support as well. Even we have some Spring Boot we can utilize, and this part is for that. When we talk about the caching, uh, we know that microservices is a kind of not too easy to use. We have to make a proper implementation and strategy to implement the microservices principles. because there are various advantages, but these advantages comes with the uh, huge disadvantage if not properly planned and strategies is used. So since not everything is required to be requested and then the response is generated, since it is, but uh, if some resources has been uh, uh, requested in loop, then we, instead of using every time the uh, recurrent response entire the journey, we can store that particular data uh, here in form of cache at the uh, client disk or memory for a particular line, or to reduce the number of requests and responses and X overhead utilization of this network and system. For logging, Redis is the famous one. We are going to utilize the Redis for caching. Redis is one of the fastest caching mechanisms. Along with that, almost many of the companies have been discussed. These are some of that we have not discussed much. The, that is project management. For the project management, uh, we can we are going to use the uh, since this project is going to be for uh, in a team, and with the perspective of team leader or manager, uh, this project should utilize the Scrum because we have particular time to develop this project with a team, and each team had certain uh, members to work on particular feature, and this fits for the Scrum methodology to implement, since Scrum is methodologies and Scrum methodologies are used to implement the agile principle for the in the development phase of the software or any product. However, we can discuss whether or not we should utilize Scrum or we should go for the Kanban. I would also like to, okay, so first I will discuss the CI/CD and then I will uh, see, uh, I will open my Jira account where to show how is the difference between Kanban and the Scrum. This is the CI/CD, that stands for continuous integration and continuous deployment. This is another thing related to the project, that is uh, each particular developer will use the uh, synchronized code base and push its code to the centralized system. And to manage this entire workflow of the CI/CD, a new uh, responsibility has come in, that is also known as the DevOps. However, we are going to utilize it our own. We'll also discuss it in CI/CD and later. Uh, the first I'm going to uh, discuss on the Kanban versus Scrum. Okay, so this is my Jira account. What I'm going to uh, introduce you this particular uh, project is a Kanban project. How? Because when I go to the summary, not exactly summary, but this to do, in progress, and done. This is the Kanban board. This is known as the Kanban board, where the tasks are divided into these uh, kind of list tasks to be in ready state but are not initialized. Some tasks are in initialization phase or in process, and the tasks that have been completed. Uh, some, so like this, we can have other lists as well. This is known as the Kanban board. And I would also let you see my Scrum board. Before that, I would like to go through my the task. So like this, this is the task I have been provided, and what are these, whether it has been done or not, how, what is the progress, the due date. Since I have been maintaining, as of now, I have been maintaining this particular uh, Kanban project for myself, for my efficiency and utilization of the time. I would also, this one is not, this is the another project that I have been working on with one of my friend, and this one is based on, this is the Scrum project dashboard. How to know? See, this is the sprint. Now we can discuss the various things like what is backlog, what is a sprint. A sprint is basically a particular time frame that is decided to uh, develop a number of features or to number of certain aspects of business. And there are some other like a Scrum Master and so many. So this is how our there are not does this so this name. Okay, so this is the uh, overview of our project. In the next presentation, I would start the implementation of the program in code, uh, simply low-level design and actual implementation of the, what we are doing, the business logic we will start doing, and also what insightful uh, things we got to know about some other tools or some problems that I might face during this, uh, or some kind of great situations to deal with. We will uh, make sure of it's all discussed.